Welcome to the Resonate podcast with Aideen. My guest today, Mallika Malhotra, is joining me, and I'm excited to introduce you to her. She's known as the brand CEO, and she's an award winning brand strategist, niche expert, and mastermind mentor. Using her signature Bullseye branding formula, she helps female entrepreneurs get crystal clear on their message, carve out their power niche, and stand out as the go to expert in their industry without lowering prices, hustling for clients, and living on social media. We spoke a little before we started recording there, and I want to let anyone who isn't a female entrepreneur but is interested in listening know that we will be covering things like focus, setting boundaries, saying no, making decisions, and the process of choosing. Whether that be within a business or without. So you might still find this content really of interest. So thank you so much, Malika, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So I'm curious, and I'm kind of guessing that you have had a journey yourself, finding your own niche, and that's one of the reasons why you're so passionate about helping people to hone in on what really makes them, unique, special, and to really connect with their audience. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yes, thank you. I used to work in advertising, corporate advertising back in the day. And then I sort of opted out of that, as many women do when they have children and become a mother, and just decided that I was going to go down this entrepreneurial path. And I've had multiple businesses under my belt trying to kind of figure out the way. But the one that stuck for me was about, feels like almost 2 decades ago. I started to do photography. And I did photography for children and family. And then I added photography for business and branding. And there was a season in my life where I call it the junk drawer phase, where I was starting to do all the things, all different types of photography, from, Christmas portraits to senior portraits to headshots for business. I was going into corporate settings and helping them with product launches. And then on the side, I was doing strategy for businesses, Instagram workshops, vision boarding workshops, doing all of the things.
Yeah.
And I really felt like at that point, it was very, very messy. And I was spinning kind of out of control, which happens, right, in some
Hmm.
points of our business, where we're trying to do a lot of things, we're in reactive mode. And I had to make some changes in order for me to feel like an expert, to feel like I was communicating the value that I offered and getting paid what I wanted to get paid. And
So
yes,
what I'm hearing is that there was a point where your previous identity as a photographer that can do it all had to kind of shift into something a little bit more where you felt more of your credibility. I think this happens to a lot of women as well as we get a little older. I can be quite girly in my personal life, for instance. But then when we move into our professional lives, we have to find a way to ground ourselves and present ourselves in a way that is that's really more true to the experience that we have, the knowledge that we have, the kind of even our qualifications that we have, because people can look at us and we look really fun, or we are very light at heart, but that doesn't always communicate what we really need people to see for them to choose us.
right. I think what I struggled with, and what a lot of women in my community struggle with, is they become a Jane of all trades. They do a lot of things and they're not seen as a specialist or as an expert, as you're saying, right? They're not leveraging their skills and strengths in a way where they can stand out from the competition, and they can focus their area of expertise, their zone of genius, so that they do work that they actually love to do and they actually see results. And so when I was in that messy phase, I was spinning and doing all the different things, and it wasn't sustainable. I was actually on my road to burnout. And I had to make some CEO decisions, right? I had to look at my business and really see, where's the money coming from? Where's the opportunity? Where is my passion? Where can I leverage my skills and my strengths to the utmost so that I can create an expert brand? And I had to go through the process of sort of cutting and culling out the things that weren't working for me and for matching and in alignment with what my values were, what my passions were, where my prowess was. And that's hard to do, right? It's hard to sort of step back and really kind of put yourself in a lane. And some people might say you're putting yourself in a box, but the way I saw it was I was cutting out the things that were not really working for my business and going all in and putting a stake in the ground with what I knew I could grow into a healthy, sustainable, profitable business.
Mm. Well, that's just a very powerful statement, what you've just made there, because that power of deciding. And deciding means also letting go. And a lot of the time we feel afraid of letting go.
Yes. And it does take courage. It takes courage, but it also takes, really looking at the data that you have at hand. And so, when people ask me about niching, sometimes they think that we're just going to pick out of the sky some niche for them, some area of focus for them, some specialization. When in truth, we're looking at intel and data that you already have at hand. Where is the revenue coming from? Where are the referrals coming from? What is your reputation already built upon?
Hmm.
And looking at that and then making strategic decisions about where you set the boundaries, what you say no to, and what you want to attract more.
Mm. Yeah. And it comes down to that. What do you want? What is it you want to attract?
Yes. And that's a question I think sometimes we don't ask ourselves because we are reacting. We are just taking what people want from us instead of really thinking about, is this in alignment with what my skills and strengths are, the problem that I can solve best, the transformation that I can deliver at a level of excellence? And is this something that I want to offer in the long game, not the short game, but in the long game? I always advise my clients to really look at all the offers. Do you need so many offers? Do you need multiple target audiences? There is something to be said when you narrow and prioritize and find your lane. It becomes simpler, it becomes specific, it becomes specialized, and sometimes that helps you stand out even more.
Yes, I can imagine because it's as soon as you include five different groups into that sentence of I help, here's an example that I've used, right? Professionals, creatives, business owners. And as soon as you've done three there, the professionals have gone, well, she's not for me because she also does this and this. And
Yes.
the creatives are going, I'm not sure because, I'm also, she just does this and this. So there's a point in people's minds and in the mind of our audience where they tune out if we try to do too much.
Yes.
So when you're speaking to, say, for instance, your own target audience, what are the ways that you find that, how do you communicate in a way that helps people to see that specialty that you have, that uniqueness, and that thing that you can call it a niche, but you could also call it just your unique selling point.
Yeah, I think it's specificity. I think it's being very tangible and precise and concrete. Often, when I'm networking and you hear people do an elevator pitch, like you said, they have this kitchen sink where they're throwing everything in there. And then sometimes it's so vague and fluffy that you don't see the value. But when you can niche or focus, what you're doing is you're giving context to your offer, your brand, your business, and you're allowing people then to raise their hand to self-identify that says she is actually talking to me, or she is actually speaking about a friend that I can, had that problem and just talk to me about. But it's about getting very specific on the problem. About getting very specific on your area of expertise, getting very specific on how you are differentiated, and also in your solution.
Mm.
And when you can get specific on all those things, which is part of that bullseye branding formula that you talked about, that is going to help you differentiate. And that's what we need in our competitive marketplaces, right? There's so much noise, so much competition, and it'll always be there. That's just a fact. And so you kind of have to just let that be and really think about, what can I do in my communication, in my business, that will allow me to stand out from everyone else? Is it disrupting and creating a new solution? Is it really talking to a very specific client instead of everybody? Is it tapping into your strengths and skills, your zone of genius, instead of saying, I'm a leadership coach, but getting really, really specific in a specific area of expertise within that umbrella, so
Hmm.
that you are not, blending in with everyone else? That's really the idea behind niching.
Hmm. Tell us a little bit about how you did that, because now, I mean, you're obviously working as the brand CEO, and that came from photography. Like that doesn't seem like in my mind, I don't see the dots that are connecting those things. Tell us a little bit about how you found this niche and this focus
Yes.
from there.
Well, and so that is kind of a illustration of how your niche, yes, you want to commit to it, but it will also evolve over time. And so, I mentioned that I was a photographer at first doing all the things, but then I niched down to brand photography because I saw that was an opportunity back in 2015 when social media was on the rise. And by cutting out all of those other things, it allowed me to focus. And that was great. I became the go-to brand photographer in the New York and New Jersey area. But as I did brand photography, in my methodology, I did a lot of strategy. I
Hmm.
didn't just show up and shoot. I actually asked some of these deeper questions about the brand, the mission, the vision, the values, the personality. And soon I found clients were coming to me for both strategy and photography. And so I had these two arms to my business. And then came a point where we had a pandemic and photography was no longer a priority. And I had to kind of make another hard decision in my business of how to pivot. And I had to really think hard of my skills, my area of expertise. And because I had this background in advertising and strategy and marketing, I really felt like I was a better strategist than I was a photographer. And I did go through an identity crisis, to be honest. Um, but I had to do the work to really look at myself, that self discovery, to see, you know, who I was, what I wanted out of the work that I was doing, where were my skills and my passions, what did I believe in? And so then I shifted again into brand strategy. And so I've been doing brand strategy probably for the last 6 years. And then within brand strategy, now niching to, I want to be the go-to niche expert. So it is a constant evolution, as branding is. It's always organic, right? It's like a living, breathing thing. It's very dynamic, but you can make decisions. It's not on your tombstone that you have to be a certain thing. You can make some decisions to change, but there is a commitment you have to make. You cannot change every week, right? Because it's about not confusing your audience. So it has to be a gradual thing so that you're preparing your audience for where you're going to go next.
That's an interesting concept. So you said you're preparing your audience for where you're going next. So is that relating to like changing things more gradually? Like say if somebody is moving from one kind of, say photography to brand strategist,
Mhm.
there was obviously a phase where you spoke about the strategies of the photos or,
Yep.
so I'm interested in that idea because this is something that I find quite tricky because I'm an all or nothing person generally. So I usually just jump straight in and I am reluctant to make big changes because I know that I might surprise people. But you're saying that we can actually prepare people for that surprise.
Yeah, I think it's clear communication, right? You don't want to just show up with a new brand and a new target audience and a new focus. You want to prepare your audience and be transparent with your audience with the changes that you're making. And yes, you might have to fire or leave behind some of those clients, But the equity that you built with those clients could open doors with the new niche or the new focus that you want. So I am a believer in doing things gradually so that you're preparing and that communication is clear and that you have the time to warm people up to the place that you want to take them.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not like you're burning bridges. You're actually leveraging and using the people that are already in your world to help you go to the next step, the newer version or the next version of you. So even for me, I was a photographer for many, many years. And I had to let go of those clients. I had to tell them of the change, but I actually brought them on the journey with me. And I found that by being transparent and doing it gradually, they stayed with me. They referred people to me. They helped share and promote me as I went into this, new direction. So that's kind of what I'm speaking about.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying because if you change things very dramatically, you can sometimes lose people's trust.
Yes.
So what you did was you were kind of bringing people with you in a way that helped them understand what you were doing. They still trusted you. They still know you as a person of integrity, a kind person, someone who, can deliver, you know, um, advice clearly, whatever they knew about you as a photographer. And they could see then that those skills are transferable into what else you're doing. But at the core of it, they like you.
Right. It's the know, like, and trust. And I think it's also the human element. We're all evolving. We're all works in progress, right? And
Hmm.
so by making it not abrupt and making it not dramatic and just kind of shifting black and white and kind of taking them on the journey with you, there's something so powerful about that and sharing the why behind the change,
Hmm.
right? Um, I have found by doing that, approaching it that way, that I've had more success once I've come to the other side. So, letting go of that photography, and I was a photographer for a long time, so it was very hard. But by gradually moving into it, and I'm not talking 5 years, it was like maybe a 6 month process, right?
Okay.
Telling people on my newsletter, sharing it on social media, having it on my website, doing both things maybe, and then taking one down. It was a very intentional and mindful process. And I think when you plan it out that way, it just helps in the transition. It helps maintain the trust, and it helps people just see that you're human behind the brand, and we're all growing into all the time, right? And so I think people, it makes it relatable.
Hmm. When you get a new client, what are the fears that you find that you have to overcome to help them to take some of these steps?
Yeah, so it's a big mindset fear of how can I say no to people? If they're coming my way, how can I say no to like money that they might bringing to me? And the way I look at it is they might not be the right clients. They might not be the right experience, right? You might not be maximizing and optimizing all of your expertise. And so by saying no and sending them to someone else who's a better match, you're then keeping the door open for those better clients, right? The second thing is, I don't want to be put in a box. A lot. I hear that a lot.
Hmm.
And I would say, why wouldn't you want to be in your zone of genius? Why wouldn't you want to work all the time in the thing that you do best, that you love to do, instead of trying to do all these different things and almost feeling like an imposter doing things that you might not should be doing, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
remember doing Instagram workshops. I'm not a social media person. Like, I shouldn't have been doing that. And I did it because someone asked me and there was an interest, but it really wasn't a good match. And it didn't feel good. It felt a little bit of a fraud. But when you are doing work you're meant to do, you're in that sense of flow. You're in that you feel like you are like producing good work and getting good results. Why wouldn't you want to be in that state of mind? So I don't see it as a box. I see it as mastery. I see it as leadership. I see it as being an authority. And then another, misconception or challenge people have is, I'm multi passionate. I have so many different interests, and I understand that. And so is there a way, like you were mentioning, that you have a lot of things? Is there a way to connect that with an umbrella brand, some way, so that your audience isn't confused? Because right now, you might like to do all of these things, but your audience is confused. And it's not about you, it's about your audience and the transformation that you can give them.
Hmm.
And so, one thing is, how can we tie everything up so that it's all connected? Or maybe there's some passions that are side passions, right? Maybe it is not meant to be in the business realm, and it should be on the personal realm. And you know, your personal brand is important, and you can touch on some of those things, but you don't need to do all of the things, because again, it comes to clarity, confidence, and minimizing the confusion so that people, your clients, can say yes.
What would you say the benefits are when somebody does make those changes and they start to step into that authority, which you
Mhm.
mentioned, leadership? How does that change their everyday working life?
Well, I think you're finally working in your zone of genius. So there's a confidence that comes with that, right? That now you actually know. And then it's simpler. Now I actually know what I have to talk about every single day. And it's liberating. I don't need to talk to multiple audiences. I don't need to talk about all the things. There's one problem, one person, one area of expertise. It's the power of one is amazing. And then also, as a specialist, as an expert, you can actually then command higher prices, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
now people see you as an expert, and you have, you know, maybe a signature offer or signature talk or signature framework that supports that. And then the value is much clearer, and you can demand or command higher prices. And that's a game changer for a lot of people with their brands. Also, it helps differentiate you so that, you know, I choose you over somebody else. You become the go to expert in your niche
Mm-hmm.
when you
Yeah.
step into that role, right? And then honestly, opportunities start coming to you more easily. You know, when people have podcast or speaking gigs, when you are not so broad and mainstream, but you are in a certain lane, people want that. They want specificity and specialization. So you'll find that your inbox gets flooded now with new visibility opportunities for you to share that expertise.
Oh, I love it. So, for someone who's very creative, right? So, like that multi-passionate person, sometimes for myself and I know others that might be listening, we have many ideas, and it's
Hmm.
easy to kind of to see an idea and get behind it very quickly because we're passionate about it. What would you suggest I ask myself, or someone listening ask themselves before they decide to put their eggs in this basket over here?
Yeah. So a couple questions I would ask: is this something that your ideal client really wants?
Hmm.
Is this something, and you might have to do, you know, some research, some talking customer conversations, I call that, right? Proof of concept. You know, as creative people, we have a million ideas, but we have to know that this actually, is it solving a real problem? Is it solving an urgent problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this new idea in alignment with the work that I want to be doing and the vision of the business of where I want to be taking it? This is why having a brand mission and a brand vision statement is so important to keep you on track, right? Because, you know, I have it too, the, you know, shiny object syndrome, all the different things. But if we want to act as a CEO of our business and stay on track, we need to make sure that we go back to the big why behind our business. Does this new idea fit with what I am trying to do? Why this matters? Does this new idea fit with where I want to go? And then I would just ask, is this in alignment with the way I'm running my business right now, with the other offers that I have? Does it fit in that offer stack? Because, you know, we want to take our clients through a customer journey. Again, it's about minimizing the confusion and making sure that we're offering an experience that will solve their problem in a way that they say yes easily and readily.
Hmm. I loved what you said there. Is it about where I want to go? So, sometimes we can be entrenched in the moment. We're like, oh my gosh, I have to, get a new client today because, someone just finished up or someone left. And then we're not really thinking about that big picture. So do you think that a lot of people have a difficulty kind of visualizing where it is they want to go?
Yes, it's hard. It's that big picture, the visionary picture of who I want to become. Where do I want to take the brand in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? It's the giving myself permission to dream big. If, and I use this exercise, if money or fear or time were not an issue, what would I be doing in order for you to start, like, flexing that muscle of dreaming bigger than where you are? Because it's easy to get bogged down in the day to day, right? But it is the idea of dreaming big and seeing where you want to take the brand, the impact you really want to be making, and then reverse engineering what you need to do now in order to get there. So that will also help you kind of minimize this, response, like the trigger, pulling the trigger really quickly when you have a plan. When 2025 is around the corner, do you know what you're going to be offering, when you're going to be offering it? Do you have a system in place so that it is organized and it's not confusing and you don't have three offers at once so that your audience is just bombarded and exhausted and no one's buying?
Hmm.
So planning ahead of time, really looking to see where those launches are. What are the offers that you're going to be spotlighting at each moment of the year is going to help you so that you're not always kind of looking for that quick fix.
Yeah. And I think a lot of solo entrepreneurs and a lot of solo women entrepreneurs just undervalue what they do slightly. And they don't see it as a like a big business. It's, I mean, even using the word the brand CEO and calling yourself a CEO, that's like stepping into a different identity within your business. And do you have to work with people on that side of things too?
Yeah, it's a mindset thing, very much so, where it is, looking at your business as this opportunity for growth and for wealth building and for impact and for transforming people's lives, right? There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. Why would they choose me? I hear a lot. And I say, why wouldn't they choose you? Like, do I have to remind you of your professional experience, your personal experience, all the things that you've done? So a lot of my clients are in that midlife phase, right? And when they come to me, I call them invisible experts because they are really good at what they do. They have great experience, but for some reason, they're still underpaid, undervalued, and overlooked. And it is because of that confidence, that mindset of seeing themselves as an expert. I challenge them. I say, tell me what the sentence would be if you said, I am the go to expert in. And they're like, oh, they pause and they're like, they almost whisper it, I am the go to expert. Meanwhile, they've had years of experience, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes it takes some mentorship or being in a community where people can help you see and leverage what you already have and package that in a way so that it's clear to your audience what the value and the transformation you can bring.
I just feel like mic drop. Here we go. We've done it. This is it's so amazing what you have gone through there today. It you've really convinced me, and I bet there's a lot of people listening that are starting to really. It's starting to make sense because part of the problem is we get confused because there's so many aspects to running your business. We've got so many day to day tasks, and I think one of the things that I would encourage the listeners and that I realize the value of a lot more myself as time goes on is that we need others. We need an expert like you, maybe on the team. We need someone who can take a bird's eye view. Your husband is not going to be able to do that for you, right? Because they just know you too much, and somebody who's got that expertise that can see the big picture and encourage you to dig deeper into what it is you want, where it is you want to go. That is priceless because then when you make those choices later, you are making them from a very informed place.
Yes.
And that, I think, is the issue, maybe with myself as well, and maybe with some of the listeners, is that we're making decisions but we're not fully informed. And I liked how you talked about, looking at your revenue streams, looking at the facts of your business, and then, pulling out what is really working and what isn't.
Yeah. I think it's, when you hire a mentor or a coach, and I've always hired someone to help me and that teaches me to be a better mentor and coach, right? So it just helps you see things that you cannot see. It helps you shortcut and have proven strategies so that you get to the results faster. Because it's hard to do it on your own. You can get caught in the black hole of it and second guess yourself. And just having someone to bounce ideas off of to tell you, this is how I did it when I had the same problem that you had, right? Or this is someone I know in my network who could use your services, making connections, having the camaraderie of people in a community. It's so important not to do this work alone. I really do believe that if you have a mentor or you have a community or you have both, it's going to accelerate your path to results. Because when you're surrounded and you have that energy, you become more of an action taker because you feel that there's evidence, there's support, there's a system, there's a strategy, there's a formula that someone is sharing with you. And always at the end of the day, this is what I tell my clients: this is your business. I am here just to advise you and tell you what I think you should do, or what I would have done, or what I have done. But you have to take that information and apply it to your business the way you see fit, because it's your business at the end of the day. But at least you have, you know, someone else who has their eyes and their brain on your business to help you and guide you along the way.
Hmm. And it's like you're investing in your business, and then your mentor is investing in your business as well. It's like you're giving something that's going to have a return, because
Yes.
sometimes we think of, okay, spending money on the business, but when there's a return for that money, it's an investment. And I like to remind people that you're investing in your business when you get the help that you need. You get the coach, when you get the advice, the consulting, whatever it might be. And even listening to this podcast is a form of
Mhm.
investing in your knowledge and your understanding. So, and all of you who are listening, I'm very glad that you decided to stay with us today. Malika has some amazing offers. She has some a mastermind coming up very soon, and the doors are open for the Brand Breakthrough Mastermind. So you can find out more about that. I'll be putting the details into the show notes. If you're not ready to make a decision on joining Malika's mastermind, she also has a fantastic offer of a way to help you find your niche in 10 minutes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's called Niche in 10. And what I have found the struggle with niching is like, how do I even start? And so what I've done is I have 10 questions that I ask you, and I ask you to do it in 10 minutes so that you don't obsess or just think too much. It's kind of rapid fire. You just kind of answer the questions. And then I actually have you take all your answers and I give you a chat GPT prompt that will take your answers with the prompt, and then it will sort of spit out what your niche could be, or at least give you a little bit of a foundation for you to play with and think about. You can go back and tweak your answers if you need more time, but it's really this the idea of getting started and seeing what could my area of expertise be, or my target audience could be. So it's a kind of a fun way for you to get started.
Yeah, generating those ideas is your first step, isn't it? It's like doing a mind map or brainstorming.
Yes.
Get it all out of your head and down on a piece of paper or into a document, and go from there. So, do you want to tell people a little bit about the mastermind that you have opening soon?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, this is probably my fourth year running Brand Breakthrough Mastermind. It is my love, my core offer. It's 4 months and I keep it small. I really don't have more than 15 to 16 people in it because I want people to feel seen and heard. And I really treat your business like it's my business. So if you're struggling standing out in your industry, if you feel like that invisible expert that we talked about, you're going to get, mentorship over 4 months where you have hot seat coaching, Q&A, trainings, all the things that you need to start moving into becoming more of the go-to expert. I help you with positioning and messaging and strategy, all the things that you can do to, leverage what you already have, but package it in a way that people only see you as the choice in your industry.
Yeah, and to get that response, that like that immediate response from people that they can, they want you.
Yes.
That's really awesome. I'm excited for your mastermind. Thank you, Malika, for joining us today. Is there any last piece of wisdom or anything that you'd like to say to our listeners before we finish up?
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I mean, what I would say is don't be afraid to go narrow and to go small, to sort of prioritize your skills and strengths and specialize. Because I think you might feel like it puts you in a box, but I do feel like it opens all of these doors for you. Because to be seen as the expert and the authority means you have more impact. So even though it might feel small that you're being narrow, you actually are creating this deeper connection and this bigger impact with your audience. And that's undeniable. And it's very, very powerful.
Thank you so much for that, Malika. Thank you all for listening. That this has been the Resonate podcast with Aideen. I'm Aideen Riada, and I look forward to inviting you to listen to another episode very soon. Take care and goodbye.